All right, so look, everybody knows that we interview all types of people here at Hollywood Online, but one of them, a gospel legend, Yolanda Adams, pulled up, and I was able to talk to her, and I feel a lot closer to God. Damaged Blue, look, I know that I'm labeled a heathen, and I do heathen things, but Yolanda Adams is such an icon. Do you listen to gospel music? I know you're a music man, but.
Oh, I actually do listen to gospel music. I'm Buddhist, but it's healing.
Yeah.
It's universally healing. You don't have to be someone who's a devout Christian to listen to gospel music to understand the message of God being universal.
Yeah.
And her voice, she's anointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came from God.
No, I agree, because I grew up Muslim, and people used to be mad at me because I would sing some some church songs.
Some
I'm like,
Marvin Sapp.
You can't sing that. I'm like, why not? It's feel good music. Like, I still believe in God. Like,
Exactly.
But I feel like the messages of gospel music, because I don't go to church, because the physical church, there was so much going on in there, and I wanted to know from her like what she thought about the church and tradition, how some of the conservative people in church have run a lot of the young people away. Mm-hmm. But one thing I will say is that gospel music, for many reasons in many ways, has been God to me. Like I feel like if I can go to a church, or if I can turn on a record and there's music, gospel music that's really, really good, and I feel that anointing, I don't know, it just changes my whole day.
When I'm depressed, I suddenly find myself reaching for gospel music while I'm cleaning the house, because it feels like something's washing over me. Because those messages are universal. Like, somebody out there loves you. You're someone's child. Everything has a purpose. I need to hear that when I'm having a bad day.
Well, her song, "The Battle Is Not Yours, It's the Lord's," I told her in Atlanta, I said, well, sometimes the Lord, sometimes I got to tell him, like, nah, nigga, this one's mine. Because, I've always wondered how somebody like her has been so solid, 40 years in music, and not had, she hasn't had a Kim Burrell or what's that guy's name? Kirk Franklin moment?
Or Donnie McClurkin.
Right.
The queen that he is.
But isn't that a part of it? Like, I did go to the church at one point in my life because my mom's Christian, my adopted mom, and I feel like you can't judge anyone, right? And I feel like
you shouldn't judge it.
That's what I thought it was all about. It's supposed to be like you could always come back to God. So I'd be wondering like why people be so critical sometimes of some of the gospel singers when they fall from grace sometimes. It's like, isn't that a part of the human journey?
Condition,
Yeah, like you're not always gonna be perfect in the eyes of the Lord, but
Yeah, and part of the interview, I asked her, because it's Yolanda Adams. I don't want to go to hell asking Jesus' disciple questions, but I had to ask her because she was on Sunday's Best. What do you think about Kim Burrell being canceled? What do you think about Kirk Franklin and him getting caught cussing out his son?
Hey, look.
but because she's on a new show called Kingdom Business. It's executive produced by Kirk Franklin and Devon Franklin. And I had to even ask her about the judgment that Megan Good got when she ended up hooking up with Devon. So I was really surprised at how candid she was. And I also didn't know that she actually had interest in doing what we do. She's done radio, but she loves journalism.
As a woman, can I also say I love that she's not matronly, and that she's a beautiful woman who gets glammed up and can look beautiful and still work for the Lord. Because I feel like there was an era, I don't want to talk about the 90s too badly, where everybody looked real rough and matronly. And I was like, I think God wants you to be
my
cute
church,
too.
I remember the pastor standing up in my church and saying, if you wear makeup, if you wear lipstick, and I looked over and like, Sister Ruth got on red lips.
Sister Ruth.
No, Sister Ruth, she used to have the skirts and a red lip. I'm like, Sister Ruth, he talking to you. And I remember testimony service. That I will say, one thing I do miss about going to church, testimony service, because testimony service really was the tea.
It really
was.
was.
You'd be like, first giving honor to God and the first lady. I woke up this morning and came to church, even though some people didn't, thank you for coming, brother. You're like, yo, you just threw him under the bus. So the real tea, where I caught all the tea, that was at church.
That's actually really true. And some of our best singers came from church.
Yeah.
Look at Brandy. Like that voice, that instrument.
Whitney,
child. Let's talk about
musicians
Whitney.
in general, like a lot of the people from 1500 and nothing, a lot of our, people that we love that play all types of instruments started in the church. It was like
all them thugs from 1500 and nothing was at the church.
I ain't gonna say all of them, but a lot of them, because think about it, growing up, it's not always a rec center or a music school you can go to. The church had the equipment and everything. That was like the music school for the hood.
And speaking of music, we cannot talk about church music without talking about the gays who kept the choir up, okay?
Well, we know most of them very too well.
So I'm just saying, shout out to the LGBTQ plus I community that has held the church down whether they acknowledge you or not.
From the pulpit to the choir. But listen, Yolanda Adams did not fail to entertain in this interview, because we were able to see all depths of her motherhood, ageism, dating, and what she thinks about cancel culture. So take a look. All right, every time I have a gospel singer or performer on the show, all y'all be in the comments saying you're trying to get closer to God. And I am, even in my private time. But now I have a gospel legend, Yolanda Adams. You know, I walked up to you in Atlanta, and I was surprised that you knew who I was. I was, because, I mean, I know I meet a lot of people, but I revere you so high. There's been many low moments where your music has gotten me through. And I know, like many people are watching say, yeah, me too. So it was so validating for like the journey that I'm on to have a legend know who I am, but more importantly, to be able to give you your flowers in person. So I'm honored that you came to the studio today.
Oh, come on. I love this space. This space is cool. I was geeking over how, you know, I need this in my life. No.
Listen, you're the only person that can use it rent free. You can
Oh,
use it
you are
anytime
just
want.
so sweet. Thank you so much. But I mean, listen, let's talk about pop culture and all of that. You are at the forefront of what is happening culturally.
Thank you.
So we know who you are. We believe what you say. And when you sit down with people, you're able to pull out of them, you know, sometimes things that other folks can't.
Thank you.
And so that's a sign of a great journalist. And I know you're more than just a journalist, but you know that was my major in college. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. So.
Wait, so you would have been out here doing all of this? Well, you've done radio.
I've done
syndicated
radio, yes, and we're building from radio to do television and all of that, and yeah.
But what part of this business attracted you? Because I didn't grow up knowing I wanted to do journalism or talk. You know, I just love pop culture. I love black culture. I love celebrity culture. So I knew I wanted to be in it, but I didn't have no talents. I can't sing. I sung on my Instagram a Beyonce song yesterday, and all the comments were like, "Please go back to your day job." But why did this attract you?
Oh, it attracted me for several reasons. I'm a lover of people, and I loved how people navigate through trials and stuff that they go through. And I love big stories. I love things that make people think, because with journalism you have the opportunity to pull stuff out of people and then ask them the questions that other folks don't ask, which is why I like what you do, because every now and then you get a little basic, okay, so how did you feel about so and so,
and that gets
and what do you
boring.
expect us, what should we expect from this and this and that? It's like
Well, and I feel like, because I'm a fan of the culture, I don't want to do an interview that I wouldn't watch.
right.
So if I know I have, first of all, I learned so much about you preparing for today that I didn't even know. Because
Okay.
when I see you, you're always a light, you're always giving back to people and filling them up. Like when we were in Atlanta for the BMI event.
Yes.
Or I think it was a BMI event with Catherine Bruton.
It was
who's a
with
friend of
Catherine
yours.
Bruton.
Yes. When you got up and gave your speech was really blessing everybody in the audience with the word that they probably needed to hear.
Good.
So do you find yourself always being that person that wants to build other people up? 'Cause
Yeah.
I got that.
I grew up like that. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. So I grew up knowing that your words can change people's day. They can change people's lives. And so trying to encourage my brothers and sisters to do better, be better, all of that kind of stuff. They didn't listen sometimes. No, y'all didn't. But I think that role was innately in me as the oldest, and having to gather and garner the troops while mom and dad did what they had to do. I just believe that there's so much power in kindness. And if we don't do that, who's gonna do it?
But you don't ever have a bad day.
Yes.
But I mean, why don't we ever get to see it? Like, I want to see Yolanda Adams in a road rage incident where,
Now that you won't
where
see.
you just have to read them to heaven,
No, yeah, nah, you won't see the road rage. I'll go as far as to say, oh, that just pissed me off, kind of like that. But that's as far as you get with the cussing. So, unless it's Danita Jordan.
But is it because, what gives you the restraint to not go all the way and lose it? Because is it your faith in God? Is it just your character? Is it just the energy you want to give out in life? Or because I try. There are days I say, Lord,
me.
I'm going to be a better, yeah, you know me. You created me in your
Right.
likeness, even right now. But then there's days where I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it. The one thing I don't want ever is for somebody to get a snap of me, you just, that kind of thing. And then it goes viral. And then all of my folks are like, well, we can't support her anymore. She said a cuss word,
Right.
that kind of thing.
But like that happened with your friends with Kirk Franklin. That happened with him and his son.
Yes, it did happen.
But why can't people? I look at like Kirk and all of his contributions in the to world music and faith and all that and what he stands for, and he has a moment, what he thought was a private moment with his child.
Right.
When you see something like that, or even Kim Burrell and with the
Yes.
church and the gay comments, why are we as a people not as forgiving when it comes to our own?
I think it's years and years and years of brainwashing and gaslighting and all of that kind of stuff. Because, you have to give people a break. If you want a break, give people a break. If you want forgiveness, give forgiveness. If you want kindness, give kindness. I've known Kirk and Kerrion for years. And so that dynamic, they know each other and they know what that means. It is unfair for me to step in there and say, well, Kirk, that was horrible. And so, that's not my role.
Right.
My role is friend. My role is sister. For Kerrion, it's auntie, and unfortunately, because of the world we live in now, people will take those private moments and abuse them and use them for their own advantage. Unfortunately, they don't want you to see their scars and their skeletons and all of that stuff. So, when I saw it, I immediately wanted to make sure that they both were okay, because we're in this social space now. People can blow up something that was intended, like you said, for a private moment between Kirk, Kerrion, and the mother, because now you got this triangle going, then you got this family thing going, and then everybody wants to pick sides. Why are we picking sides? How come we just can't pick truth?
But see, you said something that I think, and I struggle with, because I just interviewed Patrisse Cullors, the co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement. I really feel like she's in the middle of a mainstream witch hunt, lynching, where they're trying to build a narrative that's not necessarily true. And we bought into it. Black people, we bought into it. And I feel like when it comes to the Kerrions and the Kirks, or a Kim Burrell, and somebody who's gay and who didn't like the comments, I also still play her music, and I love what she does for gospel music.
And that was a moment. Remember, that was a moment of frustration that she had just getting off a plane. Somebody said something snappy to her, and again, that was somebody in her congregation who happened to be taping that day and taped that whole thing. So, again, love Kim with all my heart, but I don't want anybody to prejudge her or judge her on a 15-minute blurb or a 5-minute blurb and forget the legendary talent that she actually is.
Yeah, and I say we're not the sum of one mistake.
No.
Or a sum of one idea. And that's why I think, like, I've seen moments where our people, I think, have just gone a little too far. And this is Jason's thought, saying, I just feel like we're not as forgiving. And when you said, we want compassion, we want love, we want all these things, but it's easy to forget all that when it doesn't apply to us. Like, it's easier to apply judgment and whatever on other people.
But it shouldn't be that easy.
I agree.
Because I'm very thoughtful in the way I speak and what I say and how I use my words. And I've been like that all my life. My sister and I were talking the other day, and she's like, you know what, you always said that you were a billionaire. I said, I jumped from millionaire to a billionaire just by saying the words, as a teenager. And she's like, you've always spoken what you wanted, and you got it. I'm like, you know what, I didn't even think about that, yeah.
So are you a manifester?
Definitely.
Really?
Yes.
But is it manifesting, like consciously manifesting, or do you say it and it just somehow happens? Because I'm finding myself in this space where I always say, well, it's really God. Like, as much as I may look like a heathen on camera, behind the scenes, I do pray, and I pray, and I thank God even when nothing good is happening, and even when bad things are happening. I'm like, there's a lesson in this somewhere.
Yes.
And recently I did an interview, I think, with Complex, and I was saying to them that when my brother died, it really was a moment for me to say, this is literally the lowest moment of my life. So everything that comes after, I'm already going to be able to get through it.
Exactly.
And it's just helped me. So I know that I'm consciously manifesting, but Do you consciously map out every step to get to the manifestation, or do you feel like what you think and what you feel and where it's coming from is a place that's going to lead you to it?
Well, it all starts with habit. If you are consciously aware that, again, that your words matter and words have power and they can adversely or positively affect your life, as you grow, I mean, I'm 60 years old. Come on now.
Okay, so I didn't know you were 60 years old. We're going to get to that. Because the way I do my notes, you put the birthday and age at the top, and I'm not going to lie, I am surprised because I don't want to get too far. We're going to get back to that.
No. But what I was saying that
because ain't nobody watching this right now believing no 60. And you know she don't lie, so.
No, I don't. So the more you walk through your life and walk through this, because it's a journey, it's not a sprint, it's not, a 100-yard dash. This is literally a journey of life. It's a marathon, if you want to, use that track term. And the more you speak kindly to yourself, and the more you speak the things that you know are in your heart, they have to be in your heart first for them to be genuine. And so I'm not speaking, I want to be a horse owner and I want my horse to win the Preakness. I'm not concerned about horses. I love horses. I'm an animal lover, but I'm not going to buy a $1 billion horse and then race them all, all that kind of. So my manifestations are never that. I'm always concerned about my environment, how I nurture my daughter, because I was very clear when I was carrying her that I'm not going to raise her. I'm going to nurture her, because when you nurture, you're building, and as you build, the young mind, which is your child, grows into this amazing adult that you can be proud of.
So what's the difference between nurturing and raising?
Raising to me is, and I don't like the word raise because we raise animals, and nurture means you educate, you encourage, you inspire, you lift up. In raising, you don't really do that. You make sure they have something to eat. You make sure they have somewhere to live.
They just stay alive.
They just stay alive, right. So to me, that's the difference between raising and nurturing.
So part of the speech you gave in Atlanta, your daughter presented you with the award, and then you talked a lot about her and how important that was and how it made you feel with her being there and being as a student she is and all of that. The pride came in knowing that you were a good nurturer.
And knowing that all of the lessons that she was a part of have really kind of manifested in her life, because she's a manifester as well. Prime example, she was in middle school and she was looking at different schools to go to for high school. And she went on a visit to one school, and she's like, "Mom, I think I want to go to this school." I'm like, "Okay, well, you know what to do." So she bought 2 sweatshirts and 2 t-shirts. And for 2 months, between the time she had the visit and the time they got their letters, every day she wore either the sweatshirt with her skirt, her uniform, or the t-shirt with her uniform. And she got her letter 2 months later, "Hey, welcome to so-and-so and so-and-so." And she's like, I did it. I'm like, "Hey, you did that on your own. All I did was prepare you. Every step of your life, I showed you how to do what I did. I showed you how to do what Mom taught me, what Grandma taught me, what Dad taught me, what Grandfather taught me." And so I'm a part of this huge lineage of being careful of what you speak, but making sure that if you say something, you create it.
So now you're married now, right?
No.
You're not married now. Wait, so your first husband though wasn't her father?
No.
And that was an abusive relationship. I didn't even know you were in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, well, I'm extremely private. And the thing is, I didn't want my experience with him to
spill over.
To spill over into, because I'm this presence. And I didn't want that to spill over into his next marriage or his next relationship or whatever.
Why were you thinking about him when the abuse wasn't thinking about you? Like, it wasn't in your best interest to protect him, but right?
Well, it was in my best interest not to talk about it. Because I'm not going to talk about the negative thing that happened to me over and over and over and again. Because the more you rehearse something, the more it stays in your life. The more you look at a thing and say, okay, this was a negative thing in my life. I've learned from this. This ain't happening no more.
I wrote about that in my book, Chapter 5. I'm not going to say the title because you're here, and I really feel guilty speaking.
It's quite all right.
That way, but if you ever I get to my book, Chapter 5.
Right.
But it's crazy because you're such a strong force. And the reason why I brought that up, not too much to go into that, but in terms of preparing your daughter or nurturing your daughter on what a healthy relationship looks like. Do you have those conversations?
Oh, we have to have those conversations.
Now, right?
She's an adult, 21 years old.
She's grown.
She's real grown.
And she's pretty and she's out here.
Yes.
So how do you prepare her for avoiding getting into a situation like that or being aware of a situation that she may need to get out of?
Well, that's the only thing you can do. You can give her the information. You can lead by example, but it's still her choice. Like I said, I've nurtured her to understand what healthy relationships are and what healthy relationships are not by leading by example. And she's had 2 little relationships. I don't want to call them, I'm sorry, Taylor, I don't want to call them little, but, and so she knew how to navigate that. She's old enough to know better and young enough to still look at her life and say, okay, I learned from that. That's not happening anymore.
Wait, so if you're not married now, how does the man who's watching right now, can they slide in your DMs?
Nope.
Like, you're not a
Nope.
slider. Okay. So how does a man walk, because you're very intimidating.
I'm not going to say I'm not a slider, but I'm not a DM slider.
Not a DM slider.
Right.
Okay, so like how does a man approach a woman who's like one text away from God? Like what do you say? Because like when I talk to you or Kerrion Clark or, even when Marvin Sapp was on the show, like I have Kerrion's number, but I'm afraid, like I don't even bother you all.
Right.
Okay, I have to tell you a funny story. We're sitting at my house one day and something came over me. I said, let me text Yolanda. So I text her, no response. No, I called you.
Yes.
No response. I called her again, no response. Then I called her again and she texts me, she says, I'm in church, I'll call you back. I don't know why I called you in the morning on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Of all people. And my friend next to me said, she probably in church.
Right.
And when you text back you're in church, I was like, yo, look at how the devil would try to get in between you and your God. But how does a man approach you? Like, what do they say, or how can they approach you?
Just approach. Be authentic. Be real. I'm too old for games, and you just can't, come any kind of way. Just like anybody else would.
Would you date a rapper?
First of all, if he is a 50-year-old rapper or a 60-year-old rapper, that's all I'm going to say. I love rap, and y'all know I do, but...
Wait, so you did Jesus Walks. I talked to you.
Yes, with Kanye, yes.
I talked to you in Atlanta, and he was telling me privately how much he loved you, and then privately you were telling me how much you loved him. When you did that song, did you get criticism from anybody?
I always get criticism.
Because I feel like you're so progressive, and you get how to bring the younger people and
Right.
church together. And some people are just so traditional that they just don't understand it. But when you did that song, you had us, we everywhere. We in the club singing the songs.
Exactly.
Was that
Exactly.
intentional?
Of course, here's the thing. When someone approaches me with an idea or a duet or an appearance on a song, I did something with Bones Thug.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Bone Thugs and Harmony. Yes, I did something with them. And it was Order My Steps. And they redid that. And my thing is, if someone, because everybody knows me and they know who I am and they know what I represent, and for somebody to have the courage to, say, hey, we want you over here. I'm like, of course, there was no cussing, there was no fussing, there was none of that. All of them were just gentlemen. So we can try to say that there's a separation in our culture from God and who we are. God to us is just like breathing. And he should be, or she should be, or it should be, because God is spirit, and those that worship him worship in spirit and in truth. So there's no gender there. But I don't believe, and this is just my personal belief, I don't believe that anybody gets here without having the stamp of approval for purpose from God. Mm-hmm. We all have a purpose. Now, if we live it out, it's awesome. If we're trying to find our way, that's awesome as well, because you discover all of the beauty that is you that came from God. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see a difference in singing a song with a Marvin Sapp, who I love, and I've known him forever, and a Major, because Major is from Texas, mm-hmm. and I love him as well. He chose his path. That's his purpose. That's his power. And I'm not going to look at him and say, you know what, you sang that nice little wedding song, but no, that's never been me. And so I've always had criticism. I've been criticized by folks because my dresses were too tight, or my dresses were too short back in the day. Had so much makeup.
I always feel it's the people that can't fit in the dresses that are mad. And I always say to somebody, like, why are you so consumed with what another person looks like? Because if the voice of God is coming out of you in a tighter dress or a long gown or what, because that was part of the struggles Megan Good was having when she got married to Devon Franklin. Soon as she got married or engaged or started dating, the world tried to tear her apart because of how she looked on the red carpet with him. But I'm like, yo, you could still be a good woman and look good and dress how, I mean, I didn't understand where all the judgment comes from.
First of all, it's time out for all of that.
Yeah.
Because folks are going to come not looking like what you're used to with the power of God in them. Mm-hmm. I still believe that every person that gets to this earth has the power of God in them. You cannot separate your blood from, who you are. If the blood stops going to your heart, you die.
Right.
So if that spirit stops going to your soul, you're a sad person. So, I don't know.
So how was working with Kanye?
I love Kanye. Mm-hmm. I do. I told you that.
I told him you said that.
Yeah, too. I think he has genuine ideas of bringing people together. Mm-hmm. And I think he has been unfairly judged because of moments. Mm-hmm. And because he's such a public person, I think his private moments that have become public have not served him well. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that he's not a good person. Mm-hmm. And so I love the person I know. Mm-hmm.
I was, when we were in the car, I don't know if I shared this, but we were in the car and he was going through his music and he got to the gospel album and he was playing You Brought the Sunshine. And so I started calling Kerrion behind him. We get out the car and I said, hey, here's the phone. And I hand it to him and he's like, no. Like he's nervous to talk to her. And he gets on the phone, they're talking. And then he put her on speakerphone and she asked everybody to bow their heads. She prayed for him.
Good.
But it was a moment where I saw like how much he needed it, how much he appreciated it. Mm-hmm. And I know how much he appreciates you and how much he loves her. But also just in looking at the gospel albums, were you surprised at the success of his gospel music?
Not at all.
I think some people were.
Why?
I don't know.
It's in him.
Right.
But
why can't people see the duality, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm not worried about why they can't see it. That's them. They're going to have to answer for that. He tells folks all the time that he grew up listening to that. He grew up in it. He went to church. That's not, and again, in our culture, it's not foreign for us to love God and be in different parts of the entertainment business. Mm-hmm. We don't make that same judgment on sports figures. And they say the same thing, I want to thank God for a great night, or, however they describe their, three-point shooting and all that kind of stuff. But I don't see a problem with the gospel album that he did. My thing is the people who are making the judgment calls, have you even listened to it? Mm-hmm. Because Fred is on it. Mary and them, Warren Campbell, and all of these folks that we love and adore who do gospel music. They're on there. So you didn't really listen to it. You just want to criticize.
So not wondering why they do that, let me ask you this question, because even in an interview, and I'll go back to Patrice Cullors, a lot of people in the comments were saying, not even watching it, and said all their judgment.
Yeah.
How do we get people to indulge, listen, evaluate, have more free thinking, so that way we can embrace the totality of an experience instead of judging it based on an idea or an image?
Well, first of all, the people who will get it will get it. And we cannot spend all of our energy and our time trying to convince people, because at this point in my life, at this age, I'm not trying to convince nobody of nothing. Mm-hmm. I am who I am, and this is me. You've seen me, in this is 40 years of music. So it's like, you either with me or you're like, hey, on the other side of the street.
Okay, so the queen of contemporary gospel, 60 years old. I saw that on the sheet. I had no clue because, you look a lot younger than a lot of these folks.
Thank you.
I was talking recently at dinner with Madonna, who's 63,
yes, about
ageism. Mm-hmm. When you think about aging, even though you don't look it on the outside, mm-hmm, lots full of life, what does aging mean to you?
Aging to me is, it's a natural progression. Mm-hmm. We get, as soon as we get here, we're aging, mm-hmm, because we're going to do that for the rest of our lives. And I don't believe that there should be this stigma that after a certain age, you need to sit in the corner and be quiet. There's all this wisdom that I've gained over these years that I want to share with people, whether that's a podcast, whether that's talking to you, mm-hmm, one-on-one. That they may not know, and they may not get this information from anybody else because they may not be honest enough with them to let them know that there will be days when you are so high that it's like, oh, I can do any and everything that I want to do. I can accomplish this. I can, shoot to the moon. And then there will be those days, like you expressed earlier, where grief, loss, all of these things happen to you. It doesn't mean that your life is over. It just means that you have to pivot and shift, understand the moment, grieve if you have to, cry if you have to, but know that this is not the end. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people want, after, 50 years old, to say, oh, my life is ended. Child, let me tell you how it's only getting started.
So where does that thought come from? Because I could tell you there's some 25-year-olds I know that are like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you ain't even lived long enough to talk about, oh, my God.
Right.
So how do you keep that positive thought? And then secondly, how do you look so good?
Well,
what are your tricks?
Oh, there are no tricks. It's only real-time stuff. First of all, you have to talk to yourself. And I know people won't, that sounds a little weird, but you have to talk to yourself, because sometimes you will say, I don't feel like getting up this morning. I don't feel like getting up this afternoon. I don't feel like getting up, mm-hmm, and then you have to, wait a minute now. If I have breath in my body, if I'm blessed to have activity of all my limbs and they're working just fine, why wouldn't I get up?
Right.
Just do it for yourself. There are times when I just wake up and I get ready for the day, because I start my day off, definitely when I wake up, I am in a whole hour of gratitude.
Every day?
Every single day.
7 days a week?
Every single day. Let me tell you why.
For the whole first hour?
For the whole first hour. Because, okay, we know that spirituality is about relationship with God. You don't want to start off any relationship, well, my back was hurting and so on, so. If that was a human, that person would be like, you know what, if I got to hear about that one more day. So I just think that God has such a great sense of humor. So I start off with an hour of gratitude. And then after that, I go to Pilates.
Every day?
Well, every day that I can.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because if I am not in Houston at my studio, what I do is I'll work out either at the hotel or in my hotel room. I have little gadgets and stuff that my trainer gives me. And I just do that because it makes me feel good. I am able to run miles because I take care of my body. I don't eat a lot of crazy stuff. I don't drink a lot of crazy stuff. I am not a real
a drink
dairy.
a gallon of water a day person though? Because people are, sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in water. They're like, drink another gallon. I don't even have it in me.
Well, and I am not a proponent that everybody needs to drink a gallon of water. If you drink a half a gallon of water and you're consuming watermelon, cantaloupe, things like that already contain water, I think your body uses those fruits and veggies even more than just the gallon of water. So I just think if you live your life in balance, because I'm very balanced, if you live your life in balance, it comes back with so many rewards. So yeah, and so the other things, no tricks though. The other things that I
have
do.
a trick. It's a dermatologist.
No, that's not a trick.
It's not?
No.
It's some gadgets and some stuff we doing that's kind of tricky.
Well, here's the thing. If I love the microcurrents.
Yes, I do
because
that.
it keeps your skin plumped and your muscles all whatever. And I am not a full proponent of stuff that like fillers, because that stuff with gravity and all of that, it goes away and goes into different places. And I don't want I don't want another eyeball here. Or, no, I'm just kidding. Nothing against y'all that like that.
No, look, I have to tell you. So I got fillers. I did. But
see, you don't look like you have
no,
fillers.
I know. I have a derm king. The derm king out here. He does Angela. He does a lot of people. Because I was doing the show and the fans were saying, boy, Jason looks tired. I was like, they said I was tired on the day I had rested. But it was more about like me wanting to, feel fresh and just,
And if you do it for you, that's fine. But don't do it for somebody else.
Yeah, because I'll get caught up in that, and then the next time you come, my eye will be here.
No, I won't like that.
Well, don't let that happen.
We won't like that.
Okay, so I want to go back to nurturing. So on Sunday's Best, my favorite season was Leandria Johnson.
Yes.
And you were a judge.
Yes.
And did you know the minute she walked in and saying that she had the anointing? Because I kind of feel like Warren Campbell and Erica's church is at a school. When you walk in there, it's at a school, but the anointing is there. I can go there and feel it, but I can go to a church and not feel it.
Yes.
When she came in, did you know she had something special?
Well, in the interview portion, I was out of the country. Me and my team were out of the country doing a festival. And I came in when the actual taping started. And I think, who was there in my place? I think Kim may have been in my place because I was going to be out for 2 weeks. And then when I finally saw her, it was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Because you can't listen to her and not hear that she's been with God. And even in whatever she's dealt with in her life, that even validates it more that she's still here and she still wants to sing that, So, yeah.
It was good to see her story and see her win. And it's almost like you've been this guardian angel because and then I remember when she sung Marvin Sapp's song, you were standing off to the stage.
I was offside.
When she was singing. It was one of those things, we have a tendency to run. She was going on, and then you were up next, and she looked over and she was like, it's time to go. But even in the re-release of that song, she owned it.
Yes.
And she did a phenomenal job.
Yes, she did. And what people didn't see from the camera side is that I was back there saying, sing, Leandria, sing, Leandria. I just think that when you give people room enough to grow, they grow. I didn't get to the place that I am right now at 25. No one gets to this place without experience. And so the things that I've experienced in my life give me the compassion. They give me the forgiveness. They give me the tact to deal with people and see people who have said something derogatory or negative about me and not have to,
Nobody said nothing derogatory.
Oh, child, yes, they do.
No, they
child. Why she got that on? That's too close to her skin color.
That's church people, though? That's not
No, it could be anyone. And I don't want to just say church people because we can't just put all people in the church people box, you know, because you have people who love God, who are not churchy people, and then you have church people who do it because of tradition. And if anything COVID taught us is that you have to have a relationship with God at your own house by yourself, especially when there's a quarantine going on.
And if you catch COVID and you ain't right, you better get right, because he can call you home at any moment.
You are funny.
That's what COVID.
Oh my God.
No, COVID taught me. You better get it together, because you could be walking around here 14 days later, all that judgment you had, now you at the gate locked out. You know what's interesting, because I used to, so in my book I talk about, you know, being taken out of the home, going to foster care and all that. One of my foster parents was a pastor and a first lady, Pentecostal. I mean, it was people falling out. And now even to this day, I can't even go to a church if that spirit's not in there. But the churchy people or the church people ran me away from the church, because I looked at the church, you know, I couldn't separate.
Because you couldn't separate it. And remember, that was early in your development of knowing what God really was like, and what God really is like, and what God is to you. And unfortunately, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of gospel artists weren't raised the way I was. God has always been a cool element of our lives. God went to the skating rink with us. God went to the grocery store with us. God went to the volleyball games with us. You know, God was just a cool part of my life growing up. So I didn't have the restrictions of, you can't wear this, you can't do this, you can't look like that, you can't look like this. God was so cool, he went to modeling school with me, you know? So that's how I see God. And that's why I am so compassionate to people who feel that they have to do something extra for God to love them. You don't have to do anything but exist, and God will love you. Because again, if you got to this earth, God loves you.
Now, is going to church an important part of the process of having a relationship with God? So for young people watching, or even myself, like Warren Campbell and again his wife, I would go to their church because I feel good when I'm in there. I when they're talking, or even the music, and music really is, I think, what keeps me connected. Like some people, when they're singing, I don't know if this is right, but I just feel like there's ministers of music. When they sing, they're ministering to the heart, just like if somebody at the pulpit preaching.
Yes.
And so they have a good music program, of course, but then they have just the word is really good. How do we get young people who may not feel it important to go to church, or importance to have a church relationship, feel like it is important?
Well, I think you start with an Erica and Warren, you know, people that they view as, you know, great people, having great environments that they can be themselves in. You know, you can't take a kid who has listened to, you know, rap and all of that kind of stuff, and then put them in a church where only hymns are being sung. Because that's not going to work for them. You know, they don't understand that, okay, so now I need a book, and I need to know how to read notes and all of that. So you find places, and this is what I tell anyone searching for a church home. Find the place that fits you best, because that way you can thrive. You know, I have been at my church now for almost like 30 years. And it's because my pastor and first lady never required me to sing. They never required me.
See, I would have put that in the business plan, though. I mean, you're there.
Hilarious. No. But when I'm there, remember, I need to be fed, because I've been all over the world trying to feed people. So that's the reason that I've been at Abundant Life forever. And so that was a good fit for us. And, you know, I've visited different places, but there's no place like home. Dorothy? No.
You know, one of my favorite performances you did, too, won the NAACP Awards.
Yes.
I've watched that so many times, and the audience reaction and everybody falling out. And then the performance with Common at the White House.
Oh, that was...
That one right there.
You know, that night was really different. It was like every performance just kept building and building and building. And to see it unfold in front of us, because, you know, you have 2 days of rehearsals, you have 2 days of blocking, you have all of that stuff that you have to do. And then all of a sudden, there's something that happens when the entire audience is there. And
But
you
that
don't
audience
really
was different,
think
too.
that audience was very different because you have fans, you have folks who are like, okay, yeah, but most of the people in there are from the industry.
Right.
And to see their reaction of that particular performance. And that was the first time that I had done that with Common.
Yeah, he was on the show.
Because he and John had won the Oscar for that a couple of months before. And he asked, he said, Auntie Kim, will you sing this with me? I'm like, anything you ask me to do, I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it turned out so well that he's like, okay, you need to re-record that.
Yeah, did you do it?
No, we haven't yet.
Oh, that was so good. And just with Michelle and Barack there and with all those, the room was that was special.
Yeah.
That was really good. So now BET plus the Kingdom business.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
So that's a new show that's premiering. Is the premiere tonight?
The premiere is tonight.
So tell folks about it.
Okay, well, I am Miss Danita Jordan, who is First Lady, businesswoman, mother, philanthropist, all of these things. And I am having to come to terms with the fact that I might not be number one anymore. And so not only that, I'm also coming to terms with this financial issue that is not only affecting me and my family, but it's affecting everyone in my employ. So that's another issue. And then, of course, my husband and the church, and my husband and this, and my kids and that, and and so we wanted to concentrate mostly on the business, which is why it's called Kingdom Business instead of churchy business, and how you have to navigate the music business in the kingdom just like you do any business. It's a business. People are looking at the bottom line. You have folks who are putting their monies in to make sure that this artist is doing well and that artist is doing well. You have your shareholders that you have to deal with. So, people are going to be very, very surprised. In the beginning, it looks like I'm the ice queen as opposed to the queen of gospel.
So in the show, you're not being mean. You're being cold.
Cold.
But they're saying it's a story of redemption. How?
It is a story of redemption because there are several characters that are developing that are not your typical Sunday morning people, and it's not just the obvious. It's not just the exotic dancer. Everyone in the show has their own struggle with something. And so what we wanted to show is that no matter who you are, whether you're at the top of the food chain, the bottom of the food chain, God can still redeem you.
So Soraya and Michael J. White, two people who've both been here on the show, they're in it. What roles are they playing?
Soraya is playing the exotic dancer. And first
Soraya,
of all, I just
went
love
from-
her.
I love her too.
I just love her. She is such a doll. Anyway, she is playing the exotic dancer, and there is more of a connection between her and myself than I realized in the beginning. Because I'm just, straight up daughter of the church and all that kind of stuff, and I'm my daddy's daughter. I am my daddy's daughter. And then Michael J. White is like my nemesis. He's kind of like, he was the love of my life. That's all I can say. And, but now he's determined to be my enemy. And I ain't playing with him. No.
But Michael J. White is pretty big, and he's also a kung fu fanatic. Did you know that?
Since he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I always see him on Facebook. He always posts like the next Karate Kid. He would be the only black Karate Kid if one existed.
When he was younger, I saw a film on him. He had to be about 13. And he was doing the directing and the filming thing before anybody knew who he was as an actor. He was saying, okay, now catch me on my side and catch it. That's why he's such a great director, catch me on this side and I'm gonna swing my foot around. And this kid was, I mean, he was a kid. I'm like, this is absolutely phenomenal. You've got to release this.
So this releases May 19th, which is today?
Today.
On BET Plus.
On BET Plus.
And so with BET Plus, can you stream and watch the whole season, or is it episode at a time?
You should watch it one episode at a time, but there are 8 episodes that we are very proud of that, you know, maybe this weekend you can binge, or however you want to watch it, just watch it.
Watch it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I am beyond honored that you came to the show. See, people, gospel community, they love me.
We do.
Yeah.
We love
and
Jason.
she followed Hollywood Unlocked. I was surprised that you were following us. You know, so now
he has the best stories.
we have a much more God-friendly content program. No, but thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on doing it.
You have to.
All right, I'm gonna come to your church too, by the way.
Okay, please.
Okay, on the weekend that you're singing.
Okay.
All right, check it out. Peace.
All right, look, that was a great show. And make sure you keep coming back because we got all types of amazing interviews and topics that are going to make you go crazy.
That's right. That means like, subscribe, do everything you need to do to make sure you stay up to date with what we got going on.
And ladies, stay tuned in because you know I have your back.
And listen, make sure that you're commenting below because even though I say I don't read it on the show, that's all I do when it's over. Peace.